Hi there, my name is Matt. I am the CEO and one of the co-founders at Zazu, and today I'm going to walk you through a demo of the best way for you to send cold email with maximum deliverability. The first thing I want to show you is the email accounts page. And the reason why is because one of the big kind of pillars for how to land in the primary inbox, which by the way is the only way that the people you're emailing are going to actually open and then read and reply to your email, is the game is pretty simple. Your goal is to, in the eyes of Google and Microsoft and these other email service providers, your goal is to look like other senders that land in the primary and avoid looking like other senders who land in the spam. How do you do that? A few things, and we'll go through it today. But the first is, are you sending a normal human level of volume? A lot of the folks that I speak to, you want to send a lot of email. But how do you do that in a way that still looks like other primary senders? Well, instead of sending all that email from a few accounts or even just a singular domain, you can spread that sending across many accounts, across many what we refer to as adjacent domains. And you can see some of that here. Zazu, for our own instance, we have over 200 email accounts that we're currently using. Now, that allows you to accomplish many things. Number one, it allows you to send as much as you want, but where each email account and each domain looks like it has very normal volume control. But number two, it also creates a lot of redundancy and superpowers when it comes to landing in the primary inbox. Because number one, let's say, you get a few spam reports. Instead of that all being on a few email accounts or one domain, you're spreading it across a lot more. So each one is, getting far less spam reports. But number two, in case any account or any domain starts to have a hard time, you can, it's completely isolated from the rest. So you can continue sending, and Zazu helps automate a lot of this, the sending through the best performing accounts. And you could, hot swap some burned accounts out for some fresh new ones, those types of things. All right. So that's volume control and the importance of spreading your sending infrastructure. But the next big thing that Zazu does around email accounts is to help Google and Microsoft and the other ESPs see your engagement, the engagement you get to your email, be, again, much more normal and correlated with that of primary senders. So here's the thing. When you and I send normal kind of manual one-to-one emails, on average, there's a 12.5% reply rate. When you're sending cold emails, even if you're doing an exceptional job, it is some fraction of that. And so how do we get around that? Well, at Zazu, we have the privilege of having a lot of email accounts connected to our service. And so what we do is we actually automate conversations when you connect your email accounts to Zazu between them and other email accounts connected to Zazu, and have everybody positively engage with one another. That means reply, occasionally mark as important, and if it ever hits spam, saying, no, Google, this is not spam, right? This is what we call email warming. And email warming is very, very important for landing in the primary inbox. There's two phases of warming. I'll start with what happens forever, which is you should, and when your accounts are connected to Zazu, they will automatically always warm, in parallel with cold sending. But in addition to that, we want to build up a bit of a sender reputation on these new inboxes or on the new domains up front before you start sending cold. And that's why you see here, these accounts, these are all warmed up. That's why you see ready. But I added just before this call, this new email account. And you could see this one is warming up and it's got 21 days left. That's going to build up its reputation. And then after some time, it will it will be ready for cold sending. Okay, cool. So now we've got email accounts here. Let's go into building a campaign. So here's our campaigns list. You can see we've got some active campaigns, some past campaigns, and some work in progress. Together, we're going to create a new campaign. Click this and let's call this, I'm going to call it sample. All right, sample. Mind you see here, select a client. Some of you do outbound in-house Others provide outbound as a service for clients. If you run an agency or work in an agency or something like that, this is for you. You can create clients and associate your campaigns and your email accounts with certain clients to keep organized. If you're doing outbound in-house, feel free to ignore this. All right, let's create this campaign. And when it comes to adding leads, we have a few choices. You can upload via CSV, which is what we'll do for the purpose of this demo. You can also push them via our API, or even we have a beautiful integration with Clay. You can add a add lead to Zazu campaign column and push them right from your table. All right, but I'm going to grab a CSV real quick and just drag and drop that right there. And on the left, we have all this columns from the CSV. And on the right, we have the variables in Zazu. For those columns that matched up with our default variables, we auto match them. But you can see here at the bottom, we have one for open SDR roles. And so I need to create a new variable for that. It'll be a text variable. And I'll keep that name. So I'm going to create that variable. And then I can go ahead and import the lead. Okay, cool. You've got me and my co-founder, Chris. Now, something I want to call out here is you could see that for the open SDR roles, I have a value for that cell, but Chris does not. That'll be relevant in a second. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and move forward to the composer, where we can build out our campaign template. So for the subject line, I'll keep it simple, a quick question. And then in the message, I'm going to say, hi. Okay. If you hit the / on your keyboard, that will generate your command menu where you can access variables and conditions and more cool things that I'll show you in a second. So in this case, I open up the command menu and I'm going to click first name and I'm going to say random. But I saw you have a few open jobs for SDRs. All right. Now here's the thing. I can only say this sentence, or I want to only say this sentence to leads that I know have open jobs for SDRs. And if they don't have that, I want to skip that. I don't want to say that and look silly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this text so I can have it in my clipboard. And I'm going to open back up the command menu and use my conditions. Click add conditions. If, in this case, open SDR roles, select my condition, has any value, then I'm going to say that sentence. But else, I'm not going to say anything, and that'll be the end of the conditional. And then I'll just say, here, I'm going to paste in the rest of my sample email. So now what I want to show you is if I click preview, when it's Matt, because mind you, I do have SDRs, I have data in that variable. It'll say it here, but if I switch to Chris, to preview for Chris, it skips that line as it should. All right, cool. The next thing I'm going to show you is one of my favorite deliverability tricks, and it's the idea that senders who land in the primary inbox do not send the same email over and over again. There's a lot of variation in what they say. And so how do you do that in Zazu? Well, if you click any word or phrase or sentence, you can add alternatives. So it's always easy to do this for the hello. So I'm going to say hi, hello, hey, and we'll randomly rotate through these. Now, look, I know this is a bit of a beginner example, but the idea here is that if you shuffle the words across your whole email, you'll actually create hundreds or maybe even thousands of variations of the email going out, which boosts deliverability a ton. All right, the very last touch to this email is I want to do a sign off, but normally I would just say, Matt, something like that. However, I realized I'm going to connect some email accounts to this campaign to send. Some of them are associated with the Matt persona, but others are associated with Chris. And so instead of saying Matt here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my command menu and refer to the sender variables. And I'm going to grab sender first name. And that's that. I'll go ahead and save this. Now, look, you can add other steps and wait 3 days and then do this. The subject line. So the way the subject line works is if you leave this blank, it'll just be a in-thread follow-up to the message before it. But if you write a new subject line, it'll start a brand new thread. So here, I'll keep this in thread. I'll say, hey, just following up here. Please don't copy me. This is a bad follow-up. But just trying to demonstrate. So I can add another step. By the way, you can drag and drop these super easily if you want to try new things and change the order. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to move on here. We'll continue. And now my job is to grab the email accounts I want to use for sending here. I could grab a few, or I could just hit Command A or Control A if you're on PC. That'll grab them all, save, publish, and we just did that. We just launched a brand new sample campaign. All right. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how does it look once you've launched a campaign? In this case, it hasn't sent any emails yet, but it will in the next couple of minutes. What does it look like when you have a launch campaign? So let's go into this one. It's currently paused, but we'll click into it. And this is what the analytics look like of a campaign. So you can see the total number of leads loaded, its progress. You could see the main kind of what I call KPI cards. These are the most important numbers, how they're doing across the campaign. Replies, positive replies, opens, and bounces. But if you want to scroll down, you can get a bit more granular. So you can see over time how are sends looking, opens, and we show opens always in context of sends. And then you could see the engagement, the replies and positive replies over time. Here you can see the breakdown of all those metrics by step of the campaign. And then if you scroll a little bit further, this is my absolute favorite chart in our analytics, at least right now. This allows you to see the health of all your inboxes that are sending. So each one of these blocks represents an inbox that's connected to the campaign. And honestly, if we see all green like this, it means things are going wonderfully and we're good to go. But if you see any yellow or any red, it would indicate that Zazu has had to save a portion of the warming emails from spam that your email accounts has sent, which tells us that it's, hitting some portion likely of spam when sending outbound. And so if you were to see a yellow or a red and you'd hover over it in that tooltip, you would see, first of all, what percentage of warming emails landed directly in primary, but more importantly, you'd see exactly what Zazu is doing to make the best of the scenario. So typically, if an account is in the yellow zone where, we're being cautious, what we'll do is we'll raise the ratio of warm to cold emails. But if it's in the red, we will maybe just stop sending through that account and prioritize sending through other accounts. Or we may hot swap that account for a fresh one in your reserve. We got some more analytics below. You can see how things trend over time, and you could see a breakdown of replies by type. All right. The goal of all this is we're making sure that our cold emails land in the primary inbox so that the people we're trying to reach see our email, read it, and reply to us. Once they reply to us, what do you do, especially if you're sending from 5, 10, hundreds, or for some of you, even thousands of accounts? Mind you, those people are sending millions of emails per month. It's not for everybody, but for all of you, Zazu gives you one place to manage all the replies that come in from all those accounts. That's the inbox here. So if we click into the inbox, we're given first the primary view. Now, the first thing that I notice when I see this page is the categorization of the replies. This is automatically done by AI whenever a reply comes in. If a reply is of positive intent, whether that's a meeting booked, meeting request, information request, or just interested, that will show up here in your primary tab. But if you get messages that are not worth your time to look at least, with high priority, that would be wrong person, out of office, not interested, and do not contact. That shows up here in your other tab. Now, here, anyone who's do not contact, you could see a slight difference, by the way. So not interested is just like a no, not interested, but you can technically hit them up again if you choose to at a later point. But a do not contact is someone who's communicated, please unsubscribe me or don't contact me again. And that distinction is important because anyone who is categorized as do not contact gets automatically added to your block list, meaning you won't be able to email them again unless you manually remove them from your block list. Okay, so back into primary for a second. Let's say we want to reply to Shmuley. I click in and I open up the conversation. And here I'll go ahead and reply. Thanks so much. Whatever. I have a couple of primary buttons here. I can send the reply, or what I love to do is to send and mark it as done. And what that does is not only does it reply to Shmuley in this case, but it moves the conversation from primary to done. So that I know when there's nothing left in primary, my team and I did our job. We're on top of everything. Mind you, if the lead replies again, the conversation will move back from done to primary so we can handle it again. But knowing that primary is at 0 means we did our job. So that's the bulk of the inbox. Trying to think, is there any? Okay, the only other thing I would call out again is if you're an agency, you can create clients and invite them, and they'll have access to just their stuff. And if you're doing outbound in-house, what we went over today is I think is just about everything. So thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. If you have any questions, you know where to hit us up. Cheers.